special guest. I consider Brian Solis one of my best friends that I don't actually know except through our social world here. Brian Solis, I want him to introduce himself a little bit, but he is just one of the single most impressive figures I've ever known. For a lot of different reasons, he's at ServiceNow doing amazing global innovation there, but he's also an 8-time best-selling author. He has been called one of the greatest digital analysts of our time by more than one publication. He's a futurist. He has something like 350,000 followers on LinkedIn. I track his every movement. Brian Solis, thanks for joining us, and just share a little bit about this incredible journey and how you've done everything you've done, because I don't know how you
get out of here. It's funny. We were just having this personal conversation about me trying to be cool like you two, and so I asked to be a guest so that I can get cool again. So thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
I have been also a practicing digital anthropologist, trying to understand how to maintain humanity through all of these technology revolutions. And that has always been at the heart of my work. And because of that, I've had to reinvent myself in many cases to be able to do the type of work that I want to do. So I used to be an analyst, used to be a partner in a firm called Ultimate Group with Charlene Lee and Jeremiah Awyang and people who I still look up to today. Jaden, your work I follow. Connor, your work I follow. And now I'm the head of global innovation at ServiceNow. But that, I got to tell you, that keeps me busier than I've ever been. And I am on the front lines with companies trying to transform, not just 2 years ago in terms of digital transformation, but now in an AI-first world. Connor, you and I have had in-depth conversations about what it means to become an AI-first company in this time. And I think we're all learning and trying to figure it out together, but boy, is it exciting.
Amazing. And I guess, Brian, one question I would love to ask you about, just in light of everything that you're working on, could you tell everyone a little bit about what ServiceNow does? I'd give them a little bit of context.
Oh, yeah. No one ever asks me to talk about the company, and I appreciate that. I know they'll appreciate that as well. So we're a platform for work. So imagine that today you have processes, maybe a lot of them are analog, maybe a lot of them are discombobulated, and so the platform can actually, especially now powered by AI, the platform can take your processes, say it's onboarding a new employee, or say it's customer service, or say it's deploying someone in field service, and the platform can connect all of the steps into one seamless workflow, but it can also connect other systems, so say your SAPs or your Salesforces of the world. So that way you are connecting disparate systems in ways that just allow work to work. And we really cut our teeth in IT, but now we're expanding into, as a platform, into connecting the dots between all of the once disparate silos into one more efficient, effective, connected enterprise.
Yeah, it's amazing to sort of see just the scope of ServiceNow, and to sort of see in your career progression what got you there. Another question just on ServiceNow, just to sort of like round that out. What was ServiceNow sort of like when you got in there? That's a huge title for a huge firm. I see you talking a lot about generative AI. Like in that role, Brian, like how do you sort of see, like, you're driving value in that role for you? Because I know that you're out there on the road a ton.
All right, so I'm going to just be really human for a second, and hopefully the audience appreciates this. Every technological wave brings with it not just disruption, but also opportunities for new types of leadership. Because technically every disruptive wave requires you to know or experiment or imagine things differently than the previous waves. I think what we've seen with every wave before AI was we just kept bringing legacy thinking and approaches along the way. And so now here we are with AI, and to kind of give you that, I promise I'll get back to the answer. But what we see with AI is bringing that mindset to the point where we are seeing automation first. We are seeing operational efficiency as the top goal for organizational transformation right now. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think AI is asking us to do something else, where AI stands for augmented intelligence, meaning that we also have to think about, well, what couldn't we do before that maybe we could do now? And how does that complement operational efficiency with next-gen operational effectiveness for the things that we're not thinking about? And so that is a reflection of my career. Every technological wave, I have decided and made the decision that I wasn't going to be the previous version of Brian. I was going to try to compete all over again to figure out how to help executives make decisions about their digital, their enterprise, their business transformation at every level. And so that meant maybe in a previous generation, I needed to be working with startups, working with investors. In the next generation, I needed to be an analyst. In the next generation, I joined Salesforce as a global innovation role. And now in this generation, where AI is leading the way towards unimaginable business transformation, I joined ServiceNow because it is that platform that's going to drive that type of transformation, and it puts me on the front line. So part of my job is to also lead our global innovation centers around the world, where we bring executives in to look at what the future looks like on the platform. And so we get to imagine really cool stuff. And so it's been this matter of reinventing myself to practice what I preach, to help decision makers understand how to compete more effectively, not just efficiently.
I love that. That's so critical, I think, right now in the industry. Being, having your role and being where you are, something I'd love to ask you about is, I recently saw, I think on LinkedIn, I'm not sure if it's up today, but definitely it was up yesterday. There was a report, I believe it came out of the White House, that AI was going to impact at least 10% of workers. We've seen a lot of these statistics over the last, from the first ChatGPT launch and kind of throughout. But, this seems like a pretty concrete place from a very, top source. How do you envision AI transforming the future of work? What steps should people be taking right now, especially leaders in business, who's a lot of the people listening to this podcast? What steps should they be taking to prepare the workforce or themselves for a lot of these changes?
It's funny. I'll give you an anecdote and then I'll give you an answer. First of all, it's very cool to be talking to you two. I mean, I'm also a fan, right? So I'm geeking out at the same time of all of this. So 2 years ago, I would ask someone at a conference, hey, who here thinks AI is going to change the world and change the future of work? And every hand would go up. And then I would ask, hey, who thinks AI is going to take your job? And then all the hands would go down. You ask that question today, and all the hands stay up, right? Because there is ambiguity, there is uncertainty. And I think this is why in my next book, I talk about the need for a new type of leader, because we are, hear me out. I promise I'll get to where you're going, but it's not just AI, right? It is, how many black swan events do we have to experience on this planet until we figure out that we can't go back to usual? And we're not done, right? General AI is what, about, I saw Mustafa say yesterday, maybe 5 years out. I mean, it's on the cusp. Next year, generative AI will have a higher IQ than human beings. I mean, so we're not even asking the right questions right now. So I'll give you an example. IBM was quite famous when generative AI started to take off by saying that they were already anticipating cutting thousands of jobs. And I remember replying to that when that news hit, saying, whoa. That's old thinking. That's legacy thinking. Cost cutting, cost takeout, improve margins, increase linear growth opportunities, shareholder value, right? Totally the right kind of thinking, but in the wrong paradigm. Meaning that, what if we empowered those thousands of employees with AI to do the things they couldn't do before? Could that unlock an exponential growth curve? Because we haven't explored that. We just went right to what we do, which is efficiency. We got to do both. So there are going to be decisions made like that before we make decisions made to the point that I made. And a lot of people are going to learn the hard way. They're going to be people who make the decisions to compete efficiently in an exponential world. And there's no more linear growth, right? We're going to now see companies just going up and to the right faster than ever before. And so that's what I'm trying to help prepare executives for. So the White House numbers are probably right on, maybe low. I'm not here to validate their numbers, but I am here to talk to people who read those numbers to say, probably, but what can we do with that workforce to help the organization skyrocket for an exponential growth curve? Because you'll be understaffed, underskilled in that world. So how do we bridge that disruption gap between the linear line and the exponential line? So another way to think about that is IKEA. I love this story because they introduced Billy, which is a really effective customer service chatbot that was so successful that suddenly they had all these customer service reps twiddling their thumbs. Not really, but in reality, that could have been an automation decision. All right, thank you for your service. These roles have been eliminated. You're being replaced by AI. Instead, they reskilled them into frontline digital service excellence managers, more so interior designers, new types of roles. And those roles generated, I think in his first year, something like 1.3 billion euros. And so it's a linear and an exponential model at once. And so this is what I believe to be the foundation for an AI-first company moving forward. So hopefully that answers your question, Jaden.
I love that. I'll kick it over to Connor for the next question, but I just want to say, I think that's an amazing point and an amazing story. I hadn't actually heard that out of IKEA because I think a lot of people know the story that Klarna has published recently, where essentially they created their AI and it has automated the work of roughly 700 of their employees. I think it was like $40 million or something that it saved their bottom line. So like, I think a lot of people hear those stories and they're like, oh my gosh, they just went and axed the whole customer support team. I'm not exactly sure what Klarna did, but it's cool to see that there is an alternative here, which I've talked a lot about. It's like, just because this AI makes you so much more efficient or maybe replaces jobs or replaces what someone does, that doesn't mean like, oh great, just now we can fire 700 people and like our company makes $40 million more a year. It's like, no, you're missing the opportunity. Like if you automatically magically get $40 million more dollars, you have these amazing employees, put them to work, and now your company can be 10 times more productive and produce more outputs, which it's cool to see that IKEA has done that.
That is it. That is actually the recipe for success moving forward. And Connor, not to take away time from your question, but that's it. That's the message. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing at ServiceNow, is to be on the front lines with those in those conversations, because we're still hearing executives ask the most basic questions. For example, like explain to me the difference between Microsoft's LLM, your LLM, SAP's LLM, and really just helping them understand how this stuff works so that then we can empower them to unlock their curiosity and imagination. Because right now, what we default to as human beings is doing what we know. And Connor, just real quick, now more than ever, there's this philosophical like crossroads we stand in, right? There's what we know, right? And we tend to make decisions. I mean, this is where cognitive biases come in. We tend to make decisions with what we know and what we believe. Then there's what we know we don't know. And this creates our comfort zone, right? I know I don't know those things, but I know this, and I'm going to operate within that. If this bleeds into this space, I'm going to deal with it based on what I know here. And then there's what I don't know. And this is the world of AI and, Jaden, what we were just talking about. I don't know what I could do if I reskilled people in this direction, but I will once I start to explore new possibilities. And maybe I'm going to take a hit, but maybe I offset that hit in terms of costs by saving over here, right? And so this is just a new way to approach this realm that no one has experience in. And I think there's some comfort in that.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, you have such a gift as being a teacher. I mean that. And this is why I'm so excited to sort of see you out there. And remind me the name of your latest book.
I haven't announced it yet, but it'll be out in the fall.
Oh, cliffhanger!
I won't push you on that. Okay, we're gonna have some breaking news by the end. Don't worry, folks. But Brian has promised us an exclusive when that book comes out. So I'm putting those words in his mouth right now. Brian, when you so you go out and you do a ton of this kind of work, and I'm curious to hear your perspective on this, because when I go out and talk to companies about this, one of the hard things about this stuff is that you're right. It's not really this digital transformation anymore in the same sort of like typical way, old legacy thinking. It's much more of or what I found anyway, it's much more of a behavioral thing. And so you're talking about leaders having these old mindsets. Can you give us some characteristics of some of the leaders that you've talked to? Because you're talking to some of the leaders, the global leaders on this stuff. What are some of the characteristics of these leaders where you're like, this person is going to be able to really figure this out and get on board? What have you seen in that realm?
All right. So you have a key word here. It's called, that you said, behavior. All true innovation changes behavior. And I think that's the part we've been getting away with in every disruptive era. So think about mobile devices, right? Most of the world, when the iPhone came out, just took the web and made it work on a smaller screen. That was called responsive design or adaptive design. It was just a methodology to take what was old to work with what's new. Companies like Uber, TikTok, reimagined what the experience could be on a new device, right? And so this is where behavior becomes key. So over time, the new thing that's better makes the old thing obsolete. So for example, if you use TikTok, you subconsciously are accelerating your brain, and you are subconsciously, well, not that you're conscious about it, but you're firing new synapses, right? So you're learning how to think and make decisions in new types of ways. So you take that brain back into an old workflow, for example, and it suddenly has friction. Maybe you can't put your finger on it, but you have friction. You feel it, and it sucks. And you experience that until something better comes along, and you're like, that's it. Same's true for relationships, you name it, right? So with AI, this behavior change is now becoming more and more exponential. If you use ChatGPT, if you use Perplexity, you name your favorite app, you don't go backwards, right? And so what decision makers have to understand is that they aren't their employees. They aren't their customers. And it's never been more true that you can't make decisions about the future of your organization unless you are willing to listen to those voices or observe those things that are different in terms of behavior, emotion, experience, aspiration. And so what we're really talking about, Connor, is incentivizing people to move in new directions. So I'll give you an example. Incentivizing people to go explore the world that they don't know and bring back insights, bring back opportunities, because everybody can and will find reasons why they can't do this, reasons why there's no resources for this, reasons why this doesn't sound right, whatever. Everybody can do that. But the people who come back with answers, the people who come back with ideas, people who come back with...
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Potential in terms of pilots or proofs of the concept. Those are that's who I want to listen to. So I'll give you an example. I won't say who it is, but I just worked with an overseas government who is working against a 2030 vision that has come from top leader of that country and has just made it the mandate. I need, by 2030, every organization in this country to run towards this vision. And this, also, you'll probably get it with clues, but this country is now running the largest AI fund in the world. At every decision level within every organization, they are exploring ways to bring that vision to life. They are collaborating across organizations. They've never done that before, let alone within their own organization. And when this vision has been out for a little while, but when they speak, you could talk to this member of the organization, another organization, and they are on the same page. And they are advanced, and they are accelerating, and they're trying to figure it out because they have the safety net to go and do that. That's what I'm talking about. We have to, we know behaviors are changing, so we have to incentivize new behaviors that go and execute now where everything is going. And that, to me, was the most powerful example that I've seen to date. And I'm actually trying to use that as an example for other orgs to say, like, look at this. This is what the minute it's not even by 2030. Think of where they're at by 2026. Like, they're already leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. So, like, that's where we got to start moving now.
I love that, Brian, because I think that anyone listening, any business leaders listening, like, this is the blueprint that I think is incredibly powerful to use today. It's from the very top, if the very top of leadership says this is our directive and they pass that down, now everyone has the cover to pursue that directive. It's not like, oh, like, I think this is important and I'm going to run towards it, but maybe my manager above me is going to squash it, or this person is going to, like, disagree with this. It's like, if it comes from the top, this is the directive. And now everyone has the permission to go and pursue that to the full extent. I think this is an amazing thing that organizations really need to kind of copy that blueprint and move forward. So I really appreciate that insight. That's amazing. What I really want to ask you about, Brian, is what emerging AI technologies today or trends in the future are you most excited about? How do you think this is going to shape the future of your industry, et cetera? But, like, what's really exciting you right now?
I have it written down back here that AI means augmented intelligence. And I look at that every time to remind me personally to challenge myself to think about the tools that I use and answer your question. So, for example, in my newsletter, we all have one. I call it AI Insights. And I force myself to do this where I'll talk about what excites me. But then the AI insights for each thing that incites me is me forcing myself to understand, like, what does it mean and where's it going? And so, for example, Sora, like everyone, you really inspired this idea of where, gosh, I mean, we all become Hollywood producers now. And to me, that AI Insights part where I wrote that out turned out to be a whole article in of itself. It's just supposed to be a few sentences. And I really started to explore, like, okay, well, what happens, like, when Tyler Perry says that he's going to shut down his $800 million studio investment in light of after seeing Sora? Well, it comes back to the IBM conversation. Take that $800 million and still build your studio, but build it in a way that makes for AI first factories that isn't just in one location. Now you can have it in places where that talent is centralized around the world to create a next generation series of motion pictures or series or shows that we couldn't have imagined otherwise. So now, like, that to me got so exciting because we're literally witnessing the cusp of a new Hollywood. And it isn't probably going to be in Los Angeles. It'll be distributed, might be centralized from an administrative level. But that to me, like, that Sora to me, it wasn't just about Hollywood now. Now it really got me to start seeing, like, all right, everything that we're touching, the Claude, ChatGPT, leapfrogging, like, every single thing that comes out that unlocks these opportunities is changing industries. And we're talking about changing work. And that is why this new genre of leadership, I believe, has to come. We need visionaries to take us into the next world. Whomever that Steve Jobs is, or, you know what I was really excited about? Connor, I know you were excited about this. That video that dropped from Humane, and, like, all the things that you could do with the pin, because they were demonstrating not just the cool things you could do with the pin. What they were really saying is, this is what a world looks like without your iPhone. Like, that's huge. Mm-hmm. And the Rabbit R1, whatever comes next, like, everything. I'm looking at now at that, like, what's the post world look like with things like this? And that's what excites me.
Yeah, no, Brian, I totally agree. And what I love about AI Insights, your newsletter, and what I love about following you on LinkedIn, and you're huge on X, on Twitter, I don't know how you do everything that you do. But so thank you for giving us your time today. But I think what you're doing is, what I see you do anyway, is, like, tying it all together. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that you're sort of seeing this thread that I'm learning from a ton, and then I sort of, like, I steal your stuff all the time. I sound brilliant. And this is what I do. I'm like, look, these industries, it's not like, here's what sales is like, or here's what, industrials is like, and here's what retail is like. And I'm talking, like, department and industries and everything else. And what I hear you saying all the time is, like, this is all part of the same thing. This is all like re-looking at like how we're going to think differently. Like, do you have a sort of a sense of like how we're going to break through? Is it going to be the tech that's going to help us break through? Is it going to be a change in behavior where all of a sudden everybody's adopting the iPhone or adopting apps or something like that? Or do you think like we're going to need a helping hand from the tech because it's so wildly different, and the tech is going to come along a little bit like the Humane AI pin, where it's like, look, don't worry about right now if this is sort of feels comfortable. This is the tech that's going to bring it.
Look, hold on one sec. Right, this is
we're doing an object lesson.
This is an original drawing by Walt Disney, and I keep it right here next to me to remind me that if you can dream it, you can do it. Right, that is something he famously said. And what that means is that we actually need the spirit of creativity, curiosity, imagination more than ever before. I think next year or the year after that, right, this is where the human will no longer be the smartest person in the room, and all innovation has come from a human brain. And that spirit of creativity means now that we have an opportunity to use technology to still be relevant as a human race. We just have to embrace the world that we don't know, and then excel in it. That's really what this is about. And I heard Dharmesh, he's the co-founder of HubSpot. He wrote this out, and it just was so profound. He said, you compete with AI. And it's like a psychological test. How do you respond to that? And people are like, I know, I'm freaking out. I compete with AI. And his point was, no. You compete with AI. It comes back to that augmented intelligence, right? It's like a mantra, like remember, you can do this better and differently and in unimaginable ways with AI. And so that's the answer to your question. It's us, but we're tapping into things that we weren't comfortable tapping into before because we were told we had to be the smartest person in the room.
Amazing. Brian Solis, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for sharing your insights. This has been phenomenal. I don't know about Connor, but I am, blown away by some of the insights you've shared. To the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to leave links to Brian Solis's LinkedIn and everything else, his newsletter, in the show notes. So make sure to go and subscribe to his newsletter, follow him on LinkedIn. He posts incredible stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you.